Surface Spins here. Yeah, it's Record Store Day 2024, and this is a tier ranking video to look at and consider what are my top choices for Record Store Day. There are so many good titles. I think I'm seriously considering about 12 titles. I have to whittle that number down. So this is a way to kind of compare the releases that I'm really interested in. Let's look at some of the titles that are being released on Record Store Day 2024. This Beatles toy phonograph thing with 3-inch discs is very enticing. Do I need it? No. Do I have room for it? No, I don't even have room. Where am I going to put this thing? Will I play it that often? Probably not. Am I a Beatle completist collector? No, I'm not. So this is really interesting and really kind of one of the coolest releases the Beatles have done in a long time for collectors. I don't know that it's really a collecting thing, and I'm not into collecting stuff just to have it. I really want to play it, so probably not on that one. Blur Parklife is getting a release, and this is a record I've had on cassette and perhaps on CD. I don't know if I have it on CD, but the vinyl release would be interesting. I believe it's a picture disc, if I'm not mistaken. That kind of pulls away from my interest in it, but it's a great record. It's a great album, so maybe. Oh, KRS-One and Boogie Down Productions. I remember hearing about Edutainment and hearing a track or two, maybe on a video somewhere, years and years ago when this first came out, and always wished I could have it. Never saw it. Here it is being re-released. I think it has a CD release out there which I could track down, but boy, to hear it on vinyl would be really cool. This is an indulgence. If I bought this, it's a 2-record set. I'm sure it's going to be upwards of $40. Maybe, but it just seems like it's going to be a hot release and something I want to hear. I love the early hip-hop, early rap music. Maybe. This is a maybe. Bowie, Waiting in the Sky. This is a series of demos from the Ziggy Stardust album. I've never heard any of these tracks. I'm not sure if they've ever been released before properly, but here they all are, and this is a very tempting purchase. Captain Beefheart, The Spotlight Kid. I've purchased the last 2 Captain Beefheart releases at Record Store Day, and they've always sounded really great. It's usually the album itself and then an extra disc with alternate takes, and they've always been very, very good. So this is one I'm seriously considering. The Jerry Garcia Band, a live album. I've been tempted to buy these Jerry Garcia box sets or some of the Grateful Dead ones, and I never do. I never pick them up. So I'm considering this, but I probably won't get it. I can't see myself getting this. These, I think it's 4 discs or more. These always end up costing, $60, $70 or more, maybe $80, $90. So will I get this? No. Is it something I'm interested in? Yes. I don't think it's going to come home with me. This Parliament release. This is the first, it's a repressing of the first Parliament album. And, I've never seen this in the wild ever. So considering this one, seriously, I probably should get it if I can. I think it's going to be a good one. And there's a second disc. It's a 2-album thing, and the second disc is all alternate takes, which could be very interesting and fun to listen to. This is interesting. It's an album I wasn't aware of called SRC. If I'm not mistaken, I think Kevin Gray cut this one. So it's going to sound nice. It's on the old Capitol label, which is kind of cool. Maybe this will come home with you. I needed to listen to it again on YouTube. I sampled it a bit, but I didn't sample every track. So I need to go back and listen to that one. So this album, Joe Strummer and the Mescaleros, Rock, Art, and the X-Ray Styles, one I've never had. I've always loved the Clash, and I didn't get into Joe Strummer and his solo work, but after seeing that Joe Strummer documentary they made, maybe 10 years ago now, 8-10 years ago, very interested to hear his solo work. So this is one I'm considering as well. This Talking Heads record, it's a radio station recording. It really sounds good because I've heard some of the tracks on that compilation they put out where they included some of the cuts from this recording, but now you get to hear them all. Do I need to buy this just to hear those 4 or 5 extra tracks? Maybe. I'm sure it's going to sound good. I'm thinking it will because a lot of these recent Talking Heads releases have sounded really, really good. Considering this one. Everybody Digs Bill Evans. This is one that I have on CD, but this is I believe it's the mono release. It has some really great tracks on here. There's a solo piano piece on side 2 of the album that is really phenomenal. I wish the whole album were solo piano. I need to get a good Bill Evans solo piano album if there is. What is his best solo piano work? Interesting question. This is one I'm tempted to get, but if you have it on CD already, do you really need to get it? Yeah, probably you do. Okay, let's move on. This is interesting. Gandalf, another record I don't know much about, but it's a psych pop record, again on that Capitol label on green vinyl. Really cool. Considering this, because I can buy it, it's out there. So that's another one to consider. And this, they didn't have an image of the album cover art, but this is another one in the series of the Jazz Dispensary recordings, the Freedom Sound, the People Arise. Very interesting. These have always been great. I think I have 2 or 3 of them now that I've purchased, so this would add to that collection. They're generally very good. Last year's was very nice. So considering this release as well. So let's do the tier ranking and see where they fall in relation to one another. Okay, here they are. I guess let's start off here with Blur. We'll go over here to Blur. And am I ranking this according to what I think is the best, or am I ranking it according to what I think I will actually buy? I think I'm ranking it according to what I'll buy. I'm going to put this down here on the second level. It's one I want, but do I need it? No, I don't need it. Do I need anything? No, I don't need anything, but it's one that I really want, but not a need. Parliament's first album. This is more of a need for me. This is a great need. I don't have it. I have a couple of Parliament records, or maybe it's a Parliament Funkadelic, America Eats Its Young. I have that one, but this, to hear their first album and the alternate takes, very tempting. there might be some really cool stuff in there. So I'm going to put this pretty high on my list of what is actually going to come home with me. I'm going to put it right there. Bowie. I have just about everything Bowie's done pretty much on CD or vinyl. And to hear, Ziggy Stardust alternate takes is pretty tempting. So I just don't know. Sometimes these demos and early, demos of songs are not albums that you go back and play that often, which worries me because I know that I would rather grab the studio album than the demos. But just to hear them and have it would be very cool. So I'm going to put that, I think, a little higher than Parliament. That's got to be right at the top. All right, Captain Beefheart, that's coming home with me for sure. I'm going to put that near the top as well. The Spotlight Kid. I don't think it's considered his greatest record, but I've never heard it. I don't think I've ever heard it. And to get a clean copy of it like this, and they've all sounded good. I've purchased the other two Captain Beefheart Record Store Day releases, and I've enjoyed them both. They've always sounded great. All right, Boogie Down Productions. This is one that, I remember hearing about this record when it first came out. What year would that have been? Could it have been in the 80s? I need to check on that, but I remember hearing about this coming out. And KRS-One is such a brilliant guy. He's so smart. And I remember hearing about edutainment. And I thought he coined the term edutainment. And I looked it up. And actually, that's a term, edutainment, that Walt Disney coined, maybe back in the early 60s. But I remember this being something that I've always looked for, but never found. And now to have a re-release on it is so cool. It's more of a thing where I just want to hear it. I don't know. I like early rap music, as we used to call it. Yo, MTV Raps. Remember that? Remember that great show? And they had those bubblegum cards. I think I have a few of those around. But KRS-One, I'd like to hear this again. I think it's worthwhile. SRC. SRC, I know, again, I think this was cut by Kevin Gray, so it's going to sound great. It's early psych pop. I need to go do a deeper listen on this one, but it's got to be up there too, maybe on the same level with the BDP, Boogie Down Productions. I'm going to put it right about there. Joe Strummer and the Mescaleros. That inches out a little bit. I think that's got to be one of the higher releases for me. I think it's one of the ones I want to take home. The Talking Heads live in the radio station. I want to hear it. But do I need it? I could go back and just play the old record and hear most of it. But to have the whole thing on vinyl, I'm sure it's going to sound great. As I think I said before, these recent Talking Heads re-releases have been really, really good. Studio One, Rude Boy. I don't know did I talk about that at the beginning? Anyway, I love all these soul jazz releases of Studio One tracks. Early reggae. They all sound great. So this is going to be one for sure I'm going to bring home. I don't know if I talked about that at the beginning. Bill Evans. Everybody digs Bill Evans. This is one of those ones where I have it on CD. Do I need it on vinyl? Would I like it? It's in mono. Oh, I think it's all analog. That's probably one of the top ones that I really want to bring home with me. So I'm going to put it way up at the top. Gandalf. Again, Gandalf is like that SRC record. It's a psych pop record that I don't know too well, but it's, getting a release on nice vinyl again. It's probably one to bring back home with me. Oh, Jazz Dispensary, last one. That's got to come home with me. I want to complete the set, so I want to put that way at the top over here. I'll put it back at the front. I think that one will come home with me for sure. All right, well, boy, that really makes it difficult. I can see my top choices. I can't buy all 12 of these things. So as I look at it, Jazz Dispensary, Bowie, Captain Beefheart, Studio One, maybe the Mescaleros. That gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. That's pretty realistic. So I can't walk out of there I can't spend $500 on Record Store Day. Anyway, that's where I'm at. There's a wealth of choices at this Record Store Day, and this is, just the things that struck me at first glance. There are lots of other things out there with that Ramones. There's a Ramones Demos album that looks interesting. Again, sometimes demos are great, sometimes they're not so good. Oh, there's so many good choices. Anyway, that's all I can say for right now. Don't get ahead of me in line. I'm going to get up hecka early to get in line at Record Store Day. Please, if you're in front of me, don't buy any of the ones that I want. Thank you. Record Store Day 2024. Have fun, everyone. Surface Spins, signing out.
Some silly little piece of music so much that it hurts.